Down at the market, my local farmer tells me how my food is grown and comes to me. Not far from the city, the farmer is my neighbor. The freshest food is grown locally. There's a party in the kitchen, something smells good. I wonder who the chef could be. It's the kids in the kitchen.
Roll and stew, make and bake.
Kids in the kitchen.
Drizzle, sizzle, roast and toast.
Kids in the kitchen.
Slice and dice, mix and fix.
Kids are in the kitchen, cooking something yummy.
Welcome to Kids in the Kitchen once again. I'm your host, Tricia Ziemer. We've travelled about 45 minutes out of Melbourne to the stunning Yarra Valley. It's a beautiful day. It was a little bit foggy this morning, and during our show it's going to be a little bit foggy inside and a little bit foggy outside. So I'll leave that to your imagination. Now, we've come to find out how they make cheese. Now, you go to the supermarket and you buy a piece of cheese, but where does that cheese actually come from? Cheese is made from milk, and milk, of course, comes from a cow. So we've come to the Yarra Valley Cheese Dairy, where they make beautiful local cheeses from local cows. We're going to meet up with Jack Holman, who's the cheese maker here, as he explains the process and his passion about cheese making. We cannot thank Katie Field enough, the sales and marketing manager, for setting up this meet and greet. Then later in the show, Gabriel Gate is going to show us how to pick out the best cauliflower, and the kids are cooking cauliflower and cheese mash in the kitchen. Join us for Kids in the Kitchen.
My name's Jack Holman and I'm the cheese maker at Yarra Valley Diary. I've been making cheese here at the Yarra Valley Diary for almost 17 years, and I guess I've been a cheese maker for almost 20 years. I love cheese. I grew up on a farm, so I've always been interested in food, and I ended up in France, and some friends had a farm and it happened to be third generation cheesemakers. So yeah, I got insight into cheese making and thought that's what I want to do. So when I started here 17 years ago, we were a lot smaller at Yarra Valley Dairy. We were making a few cheeses, so it's been a great journey to be a part of that business as it's grown and develop new products, and still see these iconic products like Persian feta, still making that. So we predominantly use Holstein Friesians to get our milk, and we also have 2 goat farmers that we get our goat's milk from. Our main range of cheese are marinated Persian feta and variations of that Persian feta, so it's a marinated feta. And we also make a lot of fresh cheese, a lot of white mold cheese, and over the last few years we've been making a really awesome hard cheese called Bullseye. To give you a little kind of snapshot of what cheese making is, I guess if we go right back to the start, we're starting with the grass, the pasture. So that's really important because that's going to give a cow or a goat, the animal that we're getting milk from, they're going to be happy, so they're going to be eating that pasture and then producing really good high quality milk. So then we'll take that milk, and cheese making is a fermentation process. So basically we want to ferment the milk and capture the solids from the milk. So we do that by adding in a cheese culture. So that'll start the fermentation. The cheese culture will eat the lactose, the sugar in the milk, and then produce lactic acid. So we'll control that fermentation depending on what kind of cheese we want to make. You have to respect each cheese for what it is, and there'll be different moisture required in your final cheese. So we'll manipulate that by the size that we cut the curd, or if we press the cheese. So we'll do our cheese making technique to develop the style of cheese that we need. So in the factory this morning we were making Yarrings, which is a white mould cow's milk cheese, and we're also making Bullseye, which is the hard cow's milk cheese. So after that cheese making process, what I just went through, we'll then put them into a maturing room. So that's a controlled environment of temperature and humidity, and that'll help develop a cheese. So different cheeses will mature differently. For the Yarrings, the white mould, they'll produce a white mould on the rind, and then that'll help mature the cheese. With the hard cheese, we don't want to have a white mould on there, so we'll continually wipe the cheese, and that'll stay in the maturing room for 12 months. So there's 3 cheese makers, myself and 2 others, and then we've got a whole team of valuable people that all come together to make the products. So in the whole team, we're probably looking at, in the factory, about 20 people. So we're getting our cow's milk from some neighbouring farms, so we'll let them know how much milk we need. And then we get our goat's milk from 2 farms, one just to the north and one to the east. So we'll communicate with our farmers, let them know how much milk we need. On our busiest days, we'll be processing 12,000 litres of milk, and that'll get us about 2 tonnes of cheese. And depending on the time of the year, we'll kind of dictate what we're doing. So leading up to Christmas is always really busy. So depending on what cheese we're making, our white mould cheeses will sit in the maturing room for 7 to 10 days, depending how much cheese we've got in the room. The more cheese that's in the room, the more active it is. And with our hard cheese, we'll mature that sometimes up to 2 years, but normally for 12 months. So this morning we were making a hard cheese. So when we're making a hard cheese, we're cooking that curd and we're stirring it. So what that does is create a lot of steam. So today when we're making cheese, it got really steamy, so it's really hot in there. So you might have seen it get really foggy. So when we were scooping this cheese, you saw I had a big bucket and I was pouring the curds and whey into the cheese mould. So then what gets trapped is the curd, and then the whey goes through the mould, and that curd is all going to form together, and that's what makes our cheese. So then we need to mature it, and with that cheese we need to mature it for 1 year, and then at the end of that process, that's when that cheese is going to taste delicious. So being in the Yarra Valley Diary, we see ourselves as being Melbourne's backyard. So when we're thinking about where our food comes from, Yarra Valley is just an hour out of Melbourne. So you can come out to the Yarra Valley, come and check out the cheese that we've got at the Yarra Valley Diary. And when you're buying that cheese, you know you're buying a local product, and you can look out onto the farm and see where the product is coming from.
kitchen.
Drizzle, sizzle, roast and toast.
Kids in the kitchen.
Slice and dice, mix and fix.
Kids are in the kitchen, cooking something yummy.